Much while we did that. Welcome back to the second half of the Nobel Prizes. Now, this second half contains the most famous of the Nobel Prizes games, the complete PowerPoint disaster game. And I know that's one that the teams are very keen to play. However, they've got to get through one more game before that happens. The next game that I'm going to introduce to you is called Science Press Office. Now, if you are a communicator who works in the world of science, one of the jobs that you can get is to be a press officer, and this is where something happens involving your organisation. I know, for instance, the press officer who was on duty at UCL when a UCL student tried to blow up a plane using his pants on Christmas Eve. That is a shit job to be on call for. That ruined his life till February, because when you're on call, you keep the story. So sometimes things happen involving people associated with your organisation, and as the press officer you have to immediately appear in front of the press and talk about it. Now, the role of a press officer, teams, I really want you to take note of the rules of this game. The role of a press officer is, it's always about walking a tightrope, because you can't say, the person from my organisation who said that is a terrible thing and they're completely wrong and how dare they, because then you're insulting a powerful person. But you also can't say, oh yeah, the person from my organisation who did that, it's absolutely fine and they're right. You have to walk this tightrope down the middle of explaining what they mean whilst never committing to whether they meant it or not. And that is the essence of this game. What will appear behind you is an actual quote from an actual famous scientist. Your job for a minute is to defend it without ever saying that it is fully correct or fully wrong in its own terms. This is going to be refereed very strictly. So can I please have a golden team, because there's more of you, you always have to go first, but I feel bad picking on Matt. So who would like to go first? Please welcome to stage Cassie Hugel. Cassie Hugel, you are the press officer for a very big science organisation. I'm here from the Daily World, and I'd really like to talk to you about something that one of your members said this week. They said, imagine what it must be like to wake up in the morning and realise you are the Cambridge University Student Union's women officer, Lola Olufemi, or worse, waking up to realise you're lying next to her. What on earth did Professor Robin Marshall, Fellow of the Royal Society, mean?
Well, he was taking a very scientific approach to this. He was actually talking about the probability of waking up lying next to her. He was trying to basically work out what the probability is that someone could end up next to her at any given time. It's very, very important to remember that he wasn't being incredibly sexist, he was being very, very scientific. It's all about the numbers. Scientists think in numbers, they don't think rationally, they think in numbers. So, what is the probability of lying next to her? I don't know, I'm a press officer, but you have to remember that this is not a sexist comment. This is just from a scientist that doesn't quite remember what it's like outside of science.
A big round of applause for Cassie Hugel, please! The tightrope swayed. Did we all feel the tightrope swaying? But it never quite gave way. It never quite gave way. Now, Wonder Women, who are you sending up for what? Let's call it what it is, the game of death. Who are you sending up now? Oh, Sarah. No, Sarah Jones volunteering and then trying to get out of volunteering. Sarah Jones, Steve Cross here from the Daily World News. You're the press officer for a big science organisation. One of your members just said the following, and I really wanted to know what they mean. While people may like to think that all races are born with equal intelligence, those who have to deal with black employees find this is not true. Professor James Watson, foreign member of the Royal Society. Can we see whose press office this is, by the way, that we're doing during this game? Sarah, what on earth did Professor Watson mean?
Well, what Professor Watson meant was that some employees who might be black may in fact have a greater amount of intelligence than people who are not black, and therefore feel intimidated about that.
I think she's done incredibly well. Sarah Jones there. Imagine being the person who has to justify what Jim Watson says. I have met Jim Watson. He is that bad. Right, Golden Team, who are you sending up now? Because I'm looking at this screen. Please welcome to the stage from the Royal Society Press Office, Belle Taylor. Belle, Steve Cross here from the Daily News Daily. One of your members said today, if you do not like facts and you're a PC, LGBT, I don't know, vegan, flat earthist or whatever, do not read this thread, nor am I interested in your thinks. That was Professor Robin Marshall, Fellow of the Royal Society. What on earth did he mean?
So, Robin here, University of Manchester, it's basically just saying that he doesn't really like facts. He himself is a scientist. He doesn't agree with people that don't like facts and therefore is unable to potentially spell things again. It's cutting out the vowels there. But mainly Robin is just saying he doesn't like vegans because
I think you might have agreed with him a bit too much there for the referee. Big round of applause for Belle Taylor. If any of you are flat earthers, congratulations, because that is the same as a vegan. Wonder Woman, who are you throwing up now? Oh, excellent. Big round of applause for Katie Cresswell-Maynard, please. Always lovely to see someone who is the employee of a charity partly dedicated to getting more girls into engineering and to improving engineering and science workplaces. Yeah, that's absolutely vital. Steve Cross here from News. One of your members said today, is it inappropriate to hound Tim Hunt out of their position at a university, or is it appropriate for the university to react in the way that UCL did in this case and ask someone to resign or else threaten to sack them? What on earth did Robin Marshall's ex-PhD student, Professor Brian Cox, F Fellow of the Royal Society, mean?
Well, it's an interesting question, Steve, from News Squared.
No, that's our sister company.
I just get confused with these things. I think that the key thing that Brian is saying here is it sort of hinges around this word hound. We know that Brian is a massive fan of dogs, and this means that we like to bring dogs into research here at the University of Manchester, and personally I have a huge affinity for dogs. Just look at those big brown puppy dog eyes, and it just makes everything melt away. So I think Tim was fortunate in this instance that what we were talking about was not a pack of Alsatians. It was actually a pack of Shih Tzus that were following him out of the university. So that's what Brian was trying to say, is that it could have been worse. It could have been those Alsatians with their big dribbly kind of sharp teeth, and actually it was these cute little Shih Tzus with their big floppy ears and stupid name. Fortunately, we didn't go for the ones that are crossed with the poodles. Shit poo. That's what we're trying to put across is one love for dogs, basically.
Thank you so much. Round of applause for Katie Cresswell-Maynard. How the fuck did she manage that? Right, Golden Team, who are you sending up? I'm looking at the slide again and thinking, yep, that's the right person. Big round of applause for Matt Young, please.
Thank you, I deserve it.
Matt Young, Steve Cross here from the Inquirer's Inquiry. One of your fellows today said, it's quite clear to me that Tim Hunt's not a sexist in any way. I don't know why he said those silly things, but the way his remarks have been taken up implies that women in science are having a horrible time of it. That is not the case. I, for one, am having a wonderful time. What did Professor Ottoline Neiser, Fellow of the Royal Society, mean, Matt?
Well, Steve, here at the University of Cambridge, we believe you're just focusing on the wrong things here. What Prof. Laser is really trying to say is they're trying to draw the focus to women in science. I think that's the thing we need to focus on here. Look, it's stated here that women in science are having a terrible time. yeah, maybe the humour was a bit hit and miss. The professor was not quite on the ball that day, but really they are trying to promote the role of women in science. And sometimes like when you're out at the bar and you're trying to flirt with someone, you do kind of nag them to get them to like you, and that's kind of what's happening here.
Big round of applause to Matt Young, please. Whistled off for taking a pro-negging position. Any of you who don't know what negging is, congratulations on not knowing what negging is. If you're a straight man, you probably do it, even though you don't know what it is. Wonder Women, have you got another player to send up now? Yes, please welcome to stage Hannah Thompson. Hannah, Steve here from News Daily. One of your members said today, anyone who went through divorce court will recognise the EU Brexit posture. They're the wife who did fuck all but wants both estate and pension. What did Professor Robin Marshall, Fellow of the Royal Society, mean?
Well, first of all...
Best Twitter account ever, by the way.
First of all, I'd just like to say I'm really, really pleased I got to talk to you about this point. So, I think what we're trying to say here is that...
What are we trying to say? That's very much the question,
Yeah.
Hannah, if you don't mind answering it.
Oh, God.
Whistled out for her own good, Hannah Thompson there. Well done for trying, Hannah. I mean, it really is impossible. Anyone who's managed anything with this game is a fucking genius. Please welcome to stage our next player, Lucy Eckersley. Lucy, Steve here from the British News Library. We've been going through the archives of one of your foreign members, and they said this, and I'm really interested to know what it was that they meant. The theoretical broadening which comes from having many humanities subjects on the campus is offset by the general dopiness of the people who study these things. That's Richard Feynman there, a foreign member of the Royal Society. Can you tell whose press office this is?
So, first of all, again, I would like to thank everybody for allowing me to talk to you about this issue. First of all, we have to understand context. Now, the context of the person who is behind this quote is from a level of privilege, and privilege does mean that you have just so many beautiful cars and houses that you can't actually see sometimes what other people may interpret wrongly, how you are actually trying to speak. Secondly, we have to look at this word here, dopiness. What they're actually getting at is doping. We don't want doping at university, surely. We can't have doping. They're actually saying that taking drugs to enhance your performance at university is, in fact, wrong. And I feel like everybody here can understand that and will get behind that. Do you all agree? Yes.
Big round of applause for Lucy Eckersley, please! I have two more of these, and I was wondering would the gentlemen of the press like to try this game? Would you like to try this game, gentlemen of the press? Okay, right. I'll just turn your mic on. Can you try again?
Go on then.
Okay, Alex Lethbridge, you're from the Royal Society's press office. Steve Cross here from News. One of your members said today, dear genderists, if a woman had conceived, built, operated and analysed gravitational wave projects, she'd have got Nobel, not rocket science. What did Professor Robin Marshall, Fellow of the Royal Society, mean?
Well, I think the first thing that we should know, we should feel very lucky that Robin Marshall has opened the archives for us, because it really allows us to look into what a scientist thinks. And really what you've got to look at here is his language. He's starting it off as a letter. Dear genderists. So if we look back into the Bible, with the letters to Corinthians, we remember that extending the hand of diplomacy is always best. And so by doing this, by speaking to genderists who are not scientists, but who probably work in the humanities, he is opening up interdisciplinary science. And that is something that we feel should be applauded.
Round of applause for Alex Lethbridge, please! That's the thing, you see. Journalists make the best press officers. That's why so many of them, when they realise they can't make quite enough money in journalism, become head of communications for major research organisations. You're all listing the people in your head. Now, Oz. What's Oz short for?
Just Oz.
Is it? It's not short for anything.
It's Osama.
Oh, is it? Okay. So, Oz, you're the press officer for the Royal Society. Steve here from Fuck Off News. One of your members said today, if you think criticising Islam is racist, you must think Islam is a race, and if you think Islam is a race, you are a racist. What did Professor Clinton Richard Dawkins, that's his actual fucking name, Fellow of the Royal Society, mean?
So, what Clinton Richard Dawkins is trying to draw attention to here is the difference between religion and race and thinking. Basically, he's trying to explain to the people that there's a fundamental difference between those who can think and those who can't think. And that's why he's trying to draw attention. That's racist.
Yeah. Yes. Oz, the referee can't be racist because they're bringing black and white together if you look closely. Oz whistled out. Got a big round of applause for Oz for even trying that one. I had totally forgotten what order these came in, and then I saw that was next, and I'm so glad that I made Oz do them. Charlotte, who do you think was the very best at that? Who do you think is the very best defender of utterly indefensible terribleness? Because they get a special
I'm
prize.
just trying to remember the last 5 minutes right now.
You can use the microphone if you want.
What did you say, Kim?
I was waiting for...
Katie.
Right, good. Please welcome back to the stage, Katie. Now, Katie,
Thanks, everyone.
lovely to see you back. Your organisation has produced the following.
Organisation?
Yeah, has produced the following piece of work, and what I wanted you to do was narrate and tell us the thinking behind it.
Oh no!
Well, this is Charlotte, obviously, strutting her stuff underneath a microscope, and yes, women. Well, check out those. What is that? Oh right, okay, yeah. So what's going on here?
This narration's not much cop. What's happening? Why?
I'm not really sure what's happening. I mean, there's stuff exploding all over the place. It's like some kind of sexual party gone wrong. And that was the inner workings of a dildo, I think we just saw there, and some chemical processes going on. And now, yeah, we just got a kiss to it, really, and scream a little bit more, and then touch our breasts. Amazing. Science. Oh yeah, it's a girl thing.
Big round of applause for Katie for even trying there. The most indefensible thing that science has ever produced. And given the previous 9 quotes, that is saying something. Got a big round of applause for all of our players. Well done for making it through that fucking game, guys. I genuinely thought someone would break completely during that. So, good news, there's one final event left in the Nobel Prizes. This is the lap of honour for all of our players. So, those of you who don't know this game, the way this game works is I asked all of our players to bring with me a proper science lab talk they were going to do. And they did, and they brought all of them to me. But then I dropped all the memory sticks. And because of quantum something, all the slides mixed up. And now there's a complete mess of all of the slides that they've brought me, random pictures that I had on my other memory stick. Don't worry, none of them are pornographic. We've done we've done the edgy section of the gig. We're back into a safe territory now. And so they will get to give their lab talks. And the way this is going to work is that there are a number of slides. You have to tell me when you want the next slide. Each talk consists of a title slide, 5 content slides, so 5 things that happen, and then an acknowledgement slide with a picture of the team who've helped you do the research. And I think it's very important that you help us understand the contribution of the different members of the team to the research that you've done. So, Golden Team, you need to send someone up first. There's more of you. That's just how the game works. Who is going to come up and take up the first? So the way this works is each slide will tell you what the next kind of slide is, so that you can decide whether to use that or not.
Am I in the way?
I've got no remote, so you have to shout at me when you want the next slide. Okay?
Will do.
So we're really looking forward to your introduction of your topic and yourself.
Okay. So, what I'm here to talk to you guys about today is infirmary. Is it? I'm dyslexic. Is it the link between type 2 diabetes and colorectal cancer?
And can you tell the audience who you are?
I'm Hannah Thompson. No. I'm Lucy Eckersley.
No, you're Hannah Thompson.
I'm Hannah Thompson. Do I have to be Hannah Thompson for this?
Yeah, you have to
I
be
mean,
really
I've
good
come
at
in
sport.
uniform.
You have to tell me when you want the next slide.
Okay, so I would actually like the next slide because it is an image explaining this. So this is the, so we're discussing colorectal cancer, yeah. This is the colorectal. It's similar to a rectum. But it is a mechanical version of a rectum because we can't just test things to do with bum cancer on people. That wouldn't be fair, that wouldn't be ethical. We are ethical human beings, so we do it via this device. This is, as you can see, it's very, very technologically advanced. It has many valves to input different parts, so it basically does replicate exactly how a rectum operates. So if we can go on to the next slide, this is a quote about this study. And as many people know who own a rectum, fucking hate bubbles. I mean, it really actually does mess up our device, and it is a real problem that we have suffered. So we've had to really work hard on, as you saw from the previous image, all of that machinery to make sure we don't have any bubbles in our colorectal device. Otherwise, it will fuck it up. Yes. And actually, you can see the results of this on the next slide. Yes. As you can see, late treatment results in very, very strict downward trajectory of the rectum. Your ass drops to the floor if you have a late treatment. If you have an early treatment, you get a different, you get more minuses, which is interesting. Those are enemas. Yes, you do get more. You get more. You get more enemas, but you also get more plus things. So that, or a star, that is again representing an anus. There's a lot of anus chat in this particular presentation, but you can see basically late treatment results in a severe drop-off of the arse. Next, if we go on to a diagram explaining this, yes. What the fuck is that? Gripser! I know that. CRISPR! I am dyslexic. Can exploit homology-directed repair mechanism to introduce base changes in order to repair disease-associated mutations. This is when you stick a jelly bean into two different jelly beans and it makes an entirely new organism made out of jelly beans. This is really, really important when you're considering anuses because you can then create an entirely new resistant to cancer anus when you insert a jelly bean enema, as we discussed on the previous slide. If we go on to the next results of this, these are actually, this is heart rate, as you can see here, pulse set, and this is every time we inserted a jelly bean. And as you can see for yourself. Oh, yes, I'd like to go on to my acknowledgements of my team. So this is Brenda, because obviously she's called Brenda. Brenda is lovely, but she does have a habit of just putting a load of work on my desk. I like Brenda, she's alright. This is Suze, she's fabulous, she has loads of great quotes. This is Derek. Derek is one of those people who's super homophobic but loves lesbian porn. And this is Michael.
A man, as they're known.
This is Michael. Michael loves to start wars on Twitter. But they are my team. I would like to thank them. We are on the way to solving bum cancer. So,
big round of applause for bum cancer specialist Lucy Eckersley. Now, Wonder Woman, who are you sending up for this one? This is a very, very important talk, this one, picking up themes from the first Nobel Prizes for people who were there, so that we can see the development of the science involved. Can I have a big round of applause to Katie Question? Please talk us through your work.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name's David. I'm really excited today to be talking to you about modelling Sorsby fundus dystrophy using patient-derived iPSC-RPE. iPSC-RPE. Okay, I think maybe I've remembered that now. Sorsby fundus. So what I'd like to show is what Sorsby fundus actually looks like in iPSC-RPE. So as we can see, this is what RPSPB looks like, and this is what IDC something or other looks like. And what happens is the fundus gets on really well in the IPSCB specimen, but not so well in the PD IPQ specimen. And that was the beginning. This is the start state of our research, right? So this is us just working out what's going on. So some fundus things happening over here. And what's really interesting, actually, when you look at it, is the colours. So we thought, fundus is probably going to be a bit grey and sort of yellowy green looking, but actually it's like this amazing ultraviolet blue and neon green going on. So that was our first finding, actually, that fundus is blue and green, not grey and mouldy looking like we thought. So so what I'd like to show you next is what we did when we started to mix the IPSD-P and the BQRS together to see the impact that it had. And so here we have actually, interfacial. So this is a bit like interracial, but it's when you're actually putting two faces together. This is what happened. So that was part of our research. Key thing was that the fundus has this effect on the face, and so if you put two faces together, we just wanted to see if that would sort of develop some kind of resistance to the fundus. And as you can see, it sort of neutralises out the colour. So there's no more sort of blue and green going on here. It's kind of this nice pale blue kind of, almost I'm not there, I'm like a cloud going on. So that's what happened when we put an electrode in, basically, between the two faces. That's what's happened. So, that means that we did some great research. And just to kind of, this was what we did. So to show you the outcome of that, because obviously I've kind of preceded that by saying it was great, but I haven't really proved that to you with any evidence. So what I've got next is a graph demonstrating how amazing that was. So here we go. So this is time versus people. Or faces even. So this is when we had no faces together. This is when we had 180 faces smushed together. And as you can see, the more faces that you have smushed together, the better results that we have in terms of increasing the amount of fundus in between the IPD SBQ and the QPRS TYUZV. So yeah, and what was amazing is we put this graph out on Twitter, and we had a really great response. Some things I probably can't repeat, but what I can repeat is, next slide. Why is it brown? Well, so yeah, Charlotte, she asked a really great question, why is it brown? Obviously the graph was blue, so I think, Charlotte, you colourblind? Right. So that's actually what we're looking for funding for our next stage of research, is to answer that question of why is it brown. So next, I think I've got an image of what we'd like to achieve next with our research. So next slide, thank you. So this is Kimberly's reaction to that question, and actually, is this your sister? No? Okay.
Sadie Harrison from Time Factory One.
Okay. So this was, when we posed that question out to an audience of why is it brown, some people reacted really badly to that. That's going to be part of our new research, is when you smush 180 faces together, you end up with the question, why is it brown? And actually part of the research is actually people's reaction to that experiment. So next, what I'd like to do is thank my team. So thanks, Steve. As you can see on the side, we're a bit of a boy band. A boy band with a girl. So this is Kelly. She's got really great abs. And oh gosh, so these two are twins. But you can't see his face but he obviously looks like this guy, so that's fine. That's Tim and Tom. This guy is Dean. So Dean thinks he's a bit alright. is, all right. But he's got this thing about holding his dick. I can't. I just don't have the heart to tell him that that's just not appropriate. But he just does it all the time, and you know, between myself and Kelly, we just laugh at him behind his back, basically. And then this guy, his name's on his shirt, so it basically says wanker. And he didn't get the memo that we were meant to be wearing white shirts that day. So that's my team up. Been great, you know, it's been an extraordinary journey that we've been on, and I'm hoping that the next stage of research is all about us and all about this team. So thank you.
That is the most coherent one of these we've ever had. Congratulations, Katie. I actually think I know something at the end of that, which is a slightly worrying thing to happen from something utterly made up. Let's never put her in charge of anything important. Oh, shit. Chief Executive of Engineers Without Borders UK there. Can I please, Golden Team, who are you going to send up for the next one of these? Oh, it's Calsugo! Massive round of applause for Calsugo, please! So excited about this research. I mean, I think this is complete paradigm shifting stuff. Can you talk us through it?
Yeah, so this is all about a multi-scale MRI approach to investigate novel drug treatment strategies in mouse models of Alzheimer's disease. My name is Oz, and I am black. Next slide, please. Right, so what we're talking about is that we're looking at drug treatments and what effect it has on Alzheimer's patients, because Alzheimer's patients tend to, you know, not have a great time. So we're going to give them drugs and we're going to see if it makes it better. So when we add ethane, we find that a lot of pink happens. You know what I mean. Everyone see little pink on some pink? Right, so as you add pink, it tends to not have the greatest effects, and at the end they kind of get a low. We don't want that low to happen. So what we're going to see is if we can make this better with a nice quote. I need to get my daily aquin of vegetables. Aliquot? Aliquot. Yes. So, Charlotte made a really good point here. If you're taking drugs, you need to eat as well. That's a hard point for everyone here. Make sure that when you're taking your drugs, you eat. It's the same as alcohol.
I do that.
Yes. Have you eaten
She
today?
doesn't eat.
I ate vegetables today.
Yes, for the first time in 10 years.
So make sure you get your vegetables in, guys. And next we're going to have a look at what happens if you don't eat your vegetables. Wow. She's super excited. All right, so what happens if you don't eat your vegetables? Well, you start to turn into symbols. You no longer are people, you're just symbols because you can't remember your name, you're on fucking drugs. So, do MCK1, aka Charlotte, and SCMC5, unknown specimen, complex physically interact? Yeah, they do. Do MCK1 and MC5, 6 complex functions in the same pathways? Do you think they're in the same pathways, guys? Yeah, they are. Yeah, she's getting some action. Woo! Do MCC1 and SCMCK complex function cooperatively to affect this guy's degradation? Wow. Shit's getting kinky. And thus cohesion regulation. Yeah, that happens in the dungeon. Let's move on. So, this is what happens when they function together. So, these Alzheimer's patients, aka Charlotte, is having some drugs, and then they function together, and as they function, they release this stuff, FA actin network, in a bundle with some flipopodium and some Lapopedia-like veil to form a dynamic microtubule that makes it sexy. Yeah, this is her sex talk, by the way.
Yes.
Ooh, she's loving it. Alright, so this is typical growth cone morphology. So when they function together, they get a typical growth cone happening. And it is hot. Alright, let's have a look at what happens, guys. They functioned, they've got Alzheimer's, they're on drugs. It's an average of 6 scans a minute. Freaking great. So what we're actually doing during this process is we're actually watching. we are analysing what happens during this process to see what happens. And what happens is that they have a subtracted base curve. Now, this is the curvature that happens during the functioning. But is it real? Alright, so is it real? That's what we want to find out. That's why we need funding from all you guys. It's really important that we make sure that when you take your drugs, you do it well. You do it functioning, and you do it good. So I'd like to thank my team. This is my wonderful team. We watch a lot of people functioning together on drugs. So, you know, we only think it's fair that we participate. This is Bob. Bob likes to hit things. Yeah, he does. And this is Elma. And she seems to have a bowl full of cigarette butts. She's got a real problem. But we're just glad it's not real drugs, guys. Cigarettes, they're cool. Thank you very much.
Big round of applause for Cassie, please. Now, huge fans of the sport that is the Nobel Prizes will know that I always get my acknowledgement slides by Googling the phrase group photo or team photo and then taking things that appear on the first page. I Googled it this time while sitting in Tallinn University in Estonia on their Wi-Fi network, not logged into Google. This is genuinely in the top 30 team photos if you Google in Estonia. I don't know what they're a team that does. Chop things up small and then cook them nice. Brilliant, right. Wonder Woman, who are you sending up as your next representative? Basically, I'm shitting myself in case someone comes up and it's their title slide appears immediately afterwards. Welcome to the stage, Sarah Jones. Now, we're very excited to hear your lab talk, which will be...
Oh, great. This is my favourite area of my research, so I'm glad I get to talk to you about this. I'm Matt Young, and I'm going to be talking to you about the role of P62/SQSTM1, and not just that, but also autophagy in axonal development and degeneration, which is, I'm going to be talking about that in the context of ALS/motor neuron disease. So, as we all know, it's best to summarise before we start. So, the summary of my research is this, that motor neuron disease demonstrates the value of non-invasive multi-parametric quantitative MRI for the assessment of pathology. And also, all the other things. Thank you. Excellent. Autophagy. Autophagy techniques can be readily translatable to clinical studies. And finally, oh God, it's so warm. Don't ever wear a jumper when there's lights. Okay, so autophagy represents a platform for future longitudinal therapy. So basically, if you want to look at things long ways, you need autophagy as well as the other numerical thing. Okay, so these are the kind of results that I got into research for. Okay, this is what an MRI looks like. If you are a geometry student. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to have a quote from my lab next. What time did you get in this morning? I came in at 11 p.m. yesterday. That's what you have to do when you're transforming MRI scans into geometric shapes. You have to study all night to do that, and then you go insane, and you start seeing shapes instead of brains. Okay, so this is from clearly somebody who's an excellent scientist. Superb graph making skills there. Look at those standard errors. Yeah, so this is what you get when you dry brains above ground. You dry them, grind them up, but there's a wide variety, and this is to do with... I can't remember anything is said on that first slide. Degeneration, that would have been the best word for me to remember, wouldn't it? So this is what happens when your brain does the reverse of degenerating. It just increases as it's drying above ground. Yeah. Next we're going to see an image of one of these brains. There it is. So this is what your brain looks like when it's been treated with... Fucking hell. So this is a P62 brain. It's very different to a P52 brain by a whole 10 points. So finally, I'd like to thank the members of my lab. Yeah, great bunch of lads. We've got Alec down the end there. He doesn't really know what's going on a lot, but I mean, every time he gets, like, this was an away day we had, and he had a wonderful day, and no one can take that away from him. Then we've got Edward, who's really the brains of the operation. We've got Edgar, who just really fucking loves triangles, and that's where we got the inspiration for the geometric graph. And finally we've got Eduardo, who, I mean, nobody knows, he's that guy who, like, nobody knows what he does. Like, he's just sort of wandering around. I think maybe he might be to do with the other P62s, I don't know.
Big round of applause, Sarah Jones, please!
P62.
Genuinely no idea who these people are. Estonia, something Estonia. Golden team, who are you sending up? Oh, it's someone who's supplied many slides so far. This is going to be a piece of piss.
First one I didn't recognise as my own, unfortunately.
Yeah. Do you know what?
It was in the... Oh, what do you know? So guys, today I'm going to be talking about electrochemistry in the gas phase. Redox reactions at the solid gas interface. Woo! So,
what's your name?
My name's Belle Taylor. Lovely to meet you all. And I'm here from University College London. So I'd like to start with a quote summarising my research. So, the fucking cylinder is up your ass, Gloria. Charlotte's got much experience with Gloria. A lot of our research, solid gas phase, so what we're trying to do is carry out electrochemistry, which is, what I know. So what we're trying to do is see what happens in a flame, and that is our solid gas interface. And to use that, we're using a fucking cylinder. But in this case, it is up your ass. No. So Gloria just had a bit of a mix-up here. Poor day, Gloria. Here we go. Image, please. So this is the cylinder in question. Cylinders. And this is showing the solid gas interface. So what we can see here is these blobs of solid. This is surrounded by gas, and we're seeing this blurry interfacial region. So here, the SCC19MYC, my fave, personally, is compared to the H3 and the PYK1. And they're different solids that we're comparing with a gas. Gas is just air in this case. Lovely. And then at the bottom is the reverse of these things, the antis. And these are the things we're putting in the cylinders. So the solids are lovely, it's all blurry, but we see that when we go into the cylinder, we see this very fragmented approach that gets blurrier as we go to my fave, the PG. No, not my fave. This one, the less blurry of the three. So a bullet point to illustrate that. The overall response rate is 22 out of 1,399. That's the fucking cylinders. So it's a 1.6% response at the solid gas interface, which is huge when we consider statistics. So let's look at an image again. Ooh. Again, what a lovely image of that interface we see here. So we've got this solid region, we've got kind of a stream of gas going through it, and then we see the gas leaching into the solid. really, really nice. This is the 9YMK anti. And again, air. It's just leaching through. We can see this almost honeycomb effect, which is really, really nice, and illustrated on the next graph. So, the 9MY9, blah, 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 the anti-SMYC2, and what we're seeing here is the difference in leaching at our interface. So here, if I were to have illustrated that with an image, you wouldn't have seen that lovely honeycomb effect. Here, all the honeycombs, all the gas just going through. And we measure that by a term called nuclear sphericity. So the spherical nature, so the honeycombs sort of spheres, really. This would have been just like lightning bolts almost through our solid. Louise did that graph for me, lovely. But I'd like to really acknowledge my team that helped me with all this work here. I'm here, approximately, the little bob, you can see that. As you can see, results like this come about from a huge team effort. This crowd of almost exhaustively white people is my team at the Department of Chemistry, UCL. This is all the team, actually, and the natural scientists as well. We did most of the work. But again, like I say, wouldn't be here without them. This man here gave me all the money. Scott. Scott and his little farmer's peaked cap. Our place, really. But yeah, thank you for listening.
Massive round of applause for Mel Taylor, please! Are any of you nerdy enough to know which team this is? That's the Cassini team, Saturn's moon fans. I just wanted to show you this slide. So this slide is the greatest ever slide I think humanity have produced. In that, if you want to sum up the human condition in one bullet point, this is it. If you want a thing that future civilizations will find and they'll be like, oh, this is what the humans tried to do. This is the greatest thing they accomplished. It's this slide. So you can expect to see a lot more of this slide at the Nobel Prizes. It's already appeared 4 times. I'm very proud of it. Now, Lab Talk 6, who are you sending up, Wonder Woman? Please welcome to the stage Hannah Thompson. Or should I say, if you'd like to tell us your real name?
Kate Oliver.
Oh, yes!
Now, I'm really excited to be here today because Lab Talk 6 is my favourite number. And I love to print things in 3D using responsive biopolymers, which is actually probably one of the best titles I've had ever. And I'm coming from the University of Bristol today all the way to London. It's very far. So I'm just going to summarise what I've been up to in the last 3 years. And I've been looking at why we can 3D print Bangladeshi patients. It's really important because a lot of them actually present with colorectal cancer earlier than the average population. Unfortunately, it's actually 61% of them before they're 40, which is actually very, very different from the Caucasian population, which are much easier to 3D print, especially when they're older. When they get to 58, that's the prime age for 3D printing. And they're very responsive to this because they're Caucasian, yeah, it's just responsive. But most people who are Bangladeshi have no syndromes or anything that would actually promote their early diagnosis of colorectal cancer before they're 40. So we're trying really hard to figure this out, and it's been really helpful to be able to 3D print everything so we can set everything out and figure out how it interacts. Because actually we realised in our study that 40% of these people who are Bangladeshi who we 3D print, they actually happen to have type 2 diabetes. And it might be an error in my 3D printer, I'm not entirely sure. But what we're trying to find out is why these bioresponsive polymers that I'm using to 3D print these Bangladeshi patients give them type 2 diabetes. And I'm going to show you this in a graph here next. So this was done with Mike. He's one of my good teammates, and you can see along the bottom here that that's how responsive the polymer is to air inside it. So on this upper side is the amount of diabetes here. So we've got this weird little anomaly on this area of the graph. So no diabetes happens when your polymer is more responsive for some reason. But if you have more responsive polymers, there's also a chance you could have really, really bad diabetes. So we've got a bit of an issue here. There's either one way or not the other one way. Not that way. So thanks, Mike, for that. And he also gave us a quote to summarise this graph, which is, who stained the floor blue? So all of this time we've been 3D printing, we've been printing in blue. So we were just got a bit of a mix-up in the lab. Someone stained the floor or tried to 3D print the floor and then roll. Don't really know where I'm going with that. Maybe all my Bangladeshi patients fell out of my 3D printer onto the floor. So that was a big issue, but we're trying to figure out what this 3D printing is doing. So got a few more points to share with you. So we actually figured out that it was the ECO1 SIM domain that was causing this. So that's part of the Bangladeshi patient that's on their right arm, and it's causing this diabetes, and we're not really sure why. So to figure that out, we had to inject it with MIC1, SIM-C5 and SMC6 complex, as well as extra ECO1. And we did this, and it kind of worked. So we saw this kind of thing.
It's a different graph.
My Bangladeshi patients, unfortunately, don't actually, when they come out the 3D printer, look like an actual human. They look like a blue geometric shape here. So this is what happens when we print it, and then we're also printing, you remember those Caucasian people? We print them in red, and then when we overlap them, the interacting area is the very, very severe diabetes here. So yeah, just kind of, that's all what I got to say to you. So the next thing I want to say is obviously to thank my team, who are very, very clinical based. So we work in close collaboration with a hospital nearby. We actually fly to Japan or Asia a lot. I'm not sure if that was... We love Japanese people.
Charlotte, you've got a whistle. Just FYI.
Sorry, everybody. So this is Dave. And Dave is the head of the lab. He has been very great. We even 3D printed his tie for him for this picture. And this is Suzanne, Stephanie, Selena, Jennifer, thank you, Charlotte, and Jenny on the other end. Now, all of them are looking extremely happy, especially these ones very close to Dave. The further you get away from Dave, the less happy you become. So I'd just like to thank them for their contribution to my research.
Good round of applause for Hannah Thompson, please. Now, by my calculation, we've got one player left for this game. Please welcome to the stage Matt Young. So Matt, we're very excited to see your laptop.
Thank you.
Please could you take us through your data?
Hello, I'm Sarah Jones. I come from Wales. Today I'm here to talk about arsenopyrite analysis by XPS initial results.
Charlotte, you've got a whistle. Just if it gets too much, remember you've got a whistle.
For that. I was proud of that. Okay, but before I really get into it all, the important thing to note is the method, the analysis by XPS. Okay, just bear that in mind as we go along. Next, please.
What's on the next slide?
Oh, it's an image. It's an image. I don't need to introduce every slide.
No, you do this one.
I'm going to show you an image next about the analysis by XPS. So we realized when we decided we wanted to analyze all this pyro stuff by XPS that it's going to take a very long time, so we outsourced. Calm down, we outsourced to Camden, please. And the important thing here is that we had an actual human running all the XPS. This is Oz, as you can tell, and he's very familiar with all the letters X, P, and S. But after he got done with all the analyzing of the pyrotechnic whatsits, we had to ask him, like, Oz, what's really going on? So if you go to the next one, we've got a bit of a quote from him. And we said, Oz, like, what? Like, he was amazing at this. Honestly, he analysed it in 2 days, and we paid him for a year. So the motherfucker swindled us. So we asked him, how did you do it? And he said, it's just squirt it with ethanol. That is the easiest way. And then we asked the professional, Charlotte, who's done this before, was like, is that really the case? And she corroborated that, and she said, yes, indeed, that is actually exactly how it's done. Just squirt it with ethanol. That's yeah, it's obviously the most efficient way to do it. So next, if we look at the graphs, I'm actually going to show you what the outcome of this XPS analysis was. As you can see, once you put all those XPS letters together, and thank you again, Oz, for diluting them so much, it really produced such fine results. You can see you have this kind of like swoosh of squares. Now, you don't really need to know which color refers to which. What we're looking at is the overall concept here. We're looking at the percentage of cells and how dilute they get and how swooshy these squares go, like this. Yeah. But you probably want to see a physical image of this XPS analysis I've been raving about. So if we go to that right now, you'll see it's at this point in the study where we processed all of Oz's data and we put it through our specialist software that wasn't outsourced to 2 people from Camden, and we said, right, how can we visualize this? How can we put this in a context that we can understand? And that's how we got there. And it's just self-explanatory, to be honest. So yeah, after we've left the XPS and we've created that initial plot, we just left it for 10 days, mostly because the boss had organized a lab trip to Malaga, so we didn't want to pass that up. And when we came back, this is what we found, and I think you'll all agree, it's just fascinating results. But enough about the results. It's time to just thank the team who've worked so hard on this. We're all born in like sort of we all grew up in the 90s. We were a big fan of 90s work fashion. So this was just a fun work outing we did there. I'd like to thank my supervisor Linda and her husband Barry. Barry doesn't actually work in the lab, but he comes a lot to a lot of the things. So I mean, thanks Barry for being emotional support for Linda. This here is Jen. She helped hire Oz. She's a bit of a dick, but she does the grunt work, so I've got to thank her for that. And Karen, Bob, Lizzie, and Amanda. They're such a great team, and you wouldn't know it, but they spelt team like this, and it just proves their cohesion. So please don't applaud me, applaud the team.
Ross and Matt Young there. I have one lab talk left, so what I'd really like is, I think that it would be amazing if our umpire could show us how this is supposed to be done. She's one of London's leading scientists. Big round of applause.
Jesus Christ!
Referee. Charlotte Micure, after
I've had
this,
quite a lot of alcohol.
that'll make you better at this game.
Ah, of course.
Also, it'll help you get in role if you've ever met this person. So please do take us through your lab talk.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I just want to welcome you all today to my lab talk. Obviously I'm a bit nervous because I'm a PhD student in my first year. I'm going to talk to you about characterization of mutant cell lines resistant to chemotherapeutic agents. So let's have the next line where I'm just going to...
What's your name?
My name is Alina Pajo. I'm Romanian. You might not know. It's fine, guys. Anyway, so basically, when you're thinking about things, you need to know what colour they may or may not be. It's key to chemotherapeutic agents. Is that when you put them inside yourself, like they might make you a different colour. So thinking about this, you need to know that voltage is red, optical is blue, and combined is purple, like a bruise, like when you hit yourself. It goes purple because of a mixture of these issues. So I'm just going to take you on now through to a graph explaining our results. As you can see, this shit over here is high, and this shit over here is smaller, which means that this chemotherapy is kind of shit, and this one's good. And this one is a mixture of things, and this bump over here means that you forgot to check your breasts that week. And over here, this is you forgetting to check your balls. You need to do those things. It's very important. So let's move on now to a quote, just really outlining exactly what's going on here when we think about chemotherapy. I can't pre-mix the Coke and vodka. That's like adding the protease inhibitors to a buffer the day before. So this is very poignant here, actually, because if you think about when you add your protease inhibitors to your buffer, they're going to degrade. You don't want to eat. This is silly thing, right? I mean, we all know this as scientists, obviously. So, I mean, which kind of fucker puts their vodka in a beverage the day before they're going to serve that beverage? Honestly. I mean, that would just be fucked up. So that's really what we're trying to clarify here, and it's very important in chemotherapy. So let's move on to our graph explaining this hypothesis, which is obviously correct. And it might appear to be vaguely similar to one that we've already seen today, but I assure you, it is not. It's a different graph. So up here we've got chemotherapy, and down here we have goodness of shit. So like when things are very good, you actually have high chemotherapy, which we thought would be correct, but it's probably not true, because chemotherapy is horrible. But let's move on to an image which outlines exactly what's going on here. When we're talking about chemotherapy, when we're talking about shit that is going down with the kids, these colours and everything. So let's move on to the image. Yeah, so this, I think, very, very clearly tells us exactly what's going on here. Is that if you drink out of a Carlsberg can, which is around about the same size as a Coke can, really, you're a motherfucker. Like, who drinks a beverage from a Coke-sized can? That's just crazy shit. Whereas if you drink this larger size can, you are thus protected from chemotherapy, and also it's just more enjoyable because you just feel better, you feel like cooler in it when you're drinking with a larger can. Oh, there. Right, let's move on to our acknowledgements. I just want to thank Jimmy here. He's really helped me in my early days as a PhD student with all like how to spin down the cells and everything. Matthew over here, he's the lab leader, bit of an arsehole, but there we are. Joanna over here, she's really cool, but you know she can be a bit of a bitch. And Michael, I just really want to thank Michael for the help with the PCR because it was just amazing. And thank you very much for listening, and I hope you really learned something.
Big round of applause for our referee, Charlotte Mancura, please. Now, can I ask both of the teams to come back to the stage, please?
Please come back.
Can you stay on your side of the stage? Because this is where it gets very, 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 very heated.
Yes. Come on, Mike. Shall I give you a microphone?
Of course, the ancient mystical music plays. Can I ask our royal member? Would you mind heading towards the stage, please? Can everyone bow their heads in reverence before Her Majesty, Professor Sophie Scott. Now, Sophie is coming to the stage to award the winners, but we don't yet know who the winners are. So, referee Charlotte Mancura, you've been keeping score all the way through the Noball prizes, and you are the most mystical of all of us. And that's why your theme music is playing. Just letting it build before she reveals the winners. Interpretive dance, a big part of sport in 2017. You can take the microphone any time. Wait. It takes ages. It takes fucking ages. And I'm mainly enjoying Lucy Eckersley's face. She has to wait for this to happen. Now, the winners are!
The winners of today's night is the Golden Team with 8 points, and a massive well done for the Miscellaneous Animal Team who had 6 points.
Could you all please capture go on? Welcome to the stage from the royal family, Professor Sophie Scott. Bowing before royalty, that's the right thing to lovely curtsies from the Golden Team. And Sophie presenting them with their ancient medals, which I'll turn the lights down so you can appreciate them later. Wearing, of course, her traditional winter crown now, this time of year. It's very important. Now, Sophie, do you have any words for our winners? Anything to share with them from your position as one of the most exalted science communicators in the world, if not the UK?
I wasn't told I'd have to say anything.
No.
I forgive you, my children, for your expectations that I might. I realise I'm trending religious rather than queenly. Sorry about that. I'm going to stop now.
Amazing. Please, massive round of applause for Sophie Scott. Now, winners, you of course get a word from the exalted member of the royal family. Losers, you just get a word from Drunk Charlotte. So, Drunk Charlotte, any words for our losers?
I thought you were alright, yeah. It's nice. I think it was alright, yeah.
I have a little word for the that team. Please have a massive round of applause for everyone you've seen tonight at the Noball Prizes. You've seen Gus Hugo, you've seen Matt Young, you've seen Bill Taylor, you've seen Lucy Eckersley, you've seen Charlotte Mike you've seen Hannah Thompson, you've seen Kate Crossman, you've seen Sarah Jones on the press desk, Alex Lambridge, Oz Ismail in the Royal Box, Royal Institution Christmas Lecturer, Professor Sophie Scott, making the whole thing work, Ian Wilkins. Thank you to all of our acts. Get back in training for next season.